In the 1960s, a generation of architects were excited by building with exposed concrete in a style called brutalism. Called that not because it was ugly, which of course it wasn't, but because it comes from the French word brut, meaning raw or naked. Of course, we now live with the legacy of brutalism, some of it sad, some bad, and some of it actually being regenerated. But you wouldn't want to necessarily build a brand new house these days in raw, naked concrete, outside and in, would you? I mean, think of all the chafing. Adrian Corrigal's passion for concrete started as a young BMXer on skate parks in Scotland.
When you ride around it, you can feel all that curvature of it as you ride around. And it just feels, as good as it looks, actually.
Now Adrian is 46 and he has a family. Megan, a full-time mum, and 3 children, Rafferty, Stella and Ozzy.
Well done. Still there. There's life in the old dog, yes.
Fairly.
Not long after we first met, we ended up on this epic kind of road trip up to a skate park in Livingston in Glasgow. And at that point, I remember him saying, oh, you know, feel the concrete, feel how amazing it is. And I think that's always stuck with me as something that it was that tactile feeling that he really liked.
These days, Adrian's passion for skate parks has evolved into an appreciation of concrete architecture.
I love the fact that you've got this curve comes up, but then it's curving all the way around, and then it domes over the top, but then it's domed out to the front as well. It looks so natural, and yet it's made out of a material that is much maligned as being the most man-made, horrific material.
Going against the grain comes naturally to Adrian. He earns his living deep underwater as an offshore diver maintaining oil fields.
Adrian's, you know, he will never, ever do something by halves. If he does something, it always has to be taken to the furthest point that he can possibly get it to. If you know, he couldn't just learn how to scuba dive. He had to become a scuba diving instructor, and then a commercial diver, and then even one step further forward, saturation diver, which is the living in the bell bit. So, and he's kind of like that with everything he does.
Adrian's a risk taker, and he's planning his riskiest venture yet, one that involves his whole family, who he's moved into a bungalow in rural East Sussex. They bought it 18 months ago for £500,000, with a view to knocking it down. So what are you building here?
A great big
brutal
concrete
bunker.
Big concrete bunker.
You got it.
Here.
Yep.
Why?
Building in concrete is a really simple way, he says naively, to build a house. You're pouring concrete, building walls. You're not messing around with bricks and mortars. You're not doing any of that. It's about a very honest building built out of a really, truly 21st century material with an incredible history, but we're using it in its most modern way that it can be utilised, and we're doing it on a budget.
Why, Megan, for you? Why were you excited by building?
Primarily because Adrian really wants to do it. Well, that's not the only reason. I do want to do it. It is going to be a really homely home, hopefully.
He's inducted you, taken you to enough concrete buildings.
He's brought me on board, yes, exactly.
The first stage in this audacious, some might say madcap scheme, will see the perfectly habitable bungalow razed to the ground. Permission's been granted to erect a new 290 square metre structure, no higher than the bungalow it replaces. It'll be made entirely out of concrete, and everything about this project screams experimentation. It's a single-storey dwelling, yet its foundations are on 7 different levels. To construct the walls and roof, enormous formwork panels will be built on site, into which liquid concrete will be poured. Not the conventional stuff, but cutting-edge structural and insulated mixes. Once it's all set, the panels will be removed to reveal the bare concrete structure beneath. And that's how it'll remain, because there'll be no plaster or paint. Several deeply recessed windows will allow some shafts of all-important natural light to enter the otherwise gloomy structure. On the inside, a hallway will lead to the main living block, which incorporates a kitchen and a sunken dining area. With, next to it, an even lower living room cum playroom, right next to the garage. Raised above the communal areas, there'll be bedrooms for each of the 3 children, a family bathroom, and a master bedroom block for Adrian and Megan. Even the new swimming pool in the garden will be cast from concrete. I'm intrigued to know whether such a grey, stark and monolithic home will satisfy not just Adrian's cravings, but family life. They want to complete this wild project in 12 months. So you bought this bungalow. How much did you pay for that?
About 500.
Okay.
Right.
How much is your house going to cost to build?
300,000 to 400,000, something like that.
Does that include fees?
That's everything.
That's
all
everything. So where does the money come from? Savings, earnings, sale of...
Sale of the last property, and then mortgage.
Of how much?
Hopefully not more than 100.
Ask us that in 9 months. I'm going to try and project manage it, because I just want to see it happen and get it done, and I will get my hands dirty.
You're going to be here for the entirety of the
I'm going to try to be, yeah.
Adrian is obviously the driving force here, but goodness knows how he can project manage it with a job that takes him away a month at a time, up to 5 months of the year. Nevertheless, by the following April, the family have moved into rented accommodation nearby, and they're ready to demolish the bungalow.
Oh look, there's the little window between the kitchen. Can you see?
Now it feels like, okay, it started, and we'll just go with it and see what happens.
Although there are already some unexpected costs, some professional fees to remove asbestos from the loft.
That was an expensive surprise. That added about another 6,000 or 7,000. You imagine somebody just coming along and saying, by the way, I want 6,000 or 7,000 pounds out of your pocket right now. Oh God.
It's not a great start to a project that has so many unknowns. Their new home will be at the cutting edge of concrete technology, so Adrian hopes, which is why he's come to an experimental lab in Switzerland with his architect, Graham Loughlin.
This is concrete at its absolutely most scientific, experimental best. Nowhere else like it in the world. What they're trying to do is fundamentally change the way concrete's used in construction.
This is their nerve centre for development of new technologies, and hopefully there'll be something that can take the building to the next level.
A multitude of cutting-edge concrete mixes are being developed here.
This is the part where I get excited, which is the part where, you feel, touch, see, smell, bite into the concrete. That has half the weight of that, yet the same strength, fiber reinforced.
There's so much depth in it. You could stand and look at it forever. It's great. I don't know why no one likes it.
But Adrian needs to convince the concrete company to let him use their embryonic technology for the first time in a residential dwelling.
It has to be concrete. This is truly like the opportunity to build a 21st century building. Let's create change, not just because we can, but where it's required.
It turns out the firm are only too happy to let the concrete evangelist be their guinea pig.
Someone like Adrian comes along and he's actually passionate. Being very passionate about this material means that someone is really open to understand what are all the options and possibilities that one can do with this material. And for us, it's exciting because we share the same passion.
What's particularly radical about the concrete Adrian's choosing is the absence of one key ingredient. The thing that makes bridges super strong and concrete buildings impregnable is this stuff. Rebar, reinforcing mesh when it's welded like this. Very strong, it's mild steel, but they're not using this stuff. Adrian and Megan are hoping to use a quite revolutionary means of reinforcing their concrete. Look, with little bits of glass fibre. And these strange bits of stainless steel. Micro-reinforcing fibres. This is the nano-concrete.
But construction is rarely that straightforward. The rebar-free concrete's proving a risk too far for Adrian's engineer in the UK.
So the idea of a structural concrete frame without reinforcement in obviously makes an engineer quite twitchy.
In some areas, he wants the fibre-reinforced concrete reinforced again with steel bar.
The consequence of not having reinforcement steel within the ground floor slab would be that the slab, in effect, sits on the ground, and then when the ground tends to move, the ground slab would need to move with it, and the building itself would be subject to cracking, movement, distortion. Incorporating reinforcement steel within the ground floor slab is in essence, some short-term pain for long-term gain.
Adrian agonises over what to do, and consequently work doesn't start till autumn, a delay of 6 months. To avoid the wrath of building control, Adrian agrees to add rebar to the slab and to the roof, adding an extra £12,000 to the budget.
We are pushing against the conventional construction industry. Because the material is so new we're working with, there isn't a British standard written for it.
At least he hasn't yet had to abandon the site to go and earn money at the bottom of the North Sea.
I'm in a catch-22 situation. I'm self-employed, so if I go to work, I can make money to help us pay for this. If I do go to work, there's a risk that the project will run into problems because I'm not here to manage it.
It's not in my head the way it's in your head.
No.
So if you have to go back to work,
No,
it's going to be a nightmare.
In East Sussex, the complex foundations of Adrian and Megan's single-storey, pure concrete house, all 7 levels of it, are nearly finished after 3.5 months.
It would have been a lot easier to have just had a plain level, and as you can imagine, it's quite a challenge.
Time costs money, as does the steel mesh and bar they've had to use to reinforce their foundations. Belt and braces, what with their newfangled fibre-reinforced concrete.
So, how much money have you spent so far then?
We spent about 60 grand.
Okay.
And
That's what you wanted to spend to get to this?
Hadn't really anticipated it being as much as that.
Do you feel empowered, the pair of you, for doing it using technologies which are brand new? Or do you feel as though you're pushing water uphill?
I still believe that it is a good concept. It feels difficult now and it is trying times, but there is an end. There is an end. It's ultimately, however it ends, it ends.
But ending well is no guarantee if the legacy of brutalism is anything to go by. Something that the renowned architect Owen Luder knows only too well.
Following the war, steel was in short supply, had to be imported. Concrete was the logical material. In the 60s they were awarded, in the 70s they were applauded, in the 80s they were questioned, in the 90s they started being ridiculed. Today, of course, if they hadn't have been demolished, they almost certainly would be listed.
Demolition has been the fate of countless brutalist landmarks, including 2 of Owen's most famous designs. The Trinity Square car park in Gateshead and the Tricorn shopping centre in Portsmouth.
Given the suitability of the material, how appropriate is it now for building a one-off house?
I don't think I would use concrete. And if you do, you've got to be very careful because concrete is a very cold material.
Conventional concrete is a terrible insulator, which is why so many structures of the past became damp and ran with condensation. But Adrian and Megan intend to rid concrete of its reputation as cold once and for all by using a revolutionary insulating concrete.
Imagine that this jelly is the slab that has been poured in the ground on which Adrian and Megan are going to build their house. What they're using in between the slab and the walls is a special layer of concrete here and there, which has got insulating material in it. Now, actually, the manufacturers won't tell me what that insulating material is, but the point is, those bits act to keep the building warm. Of course, those bits of insulation are themselves sitting in a layer of concrete. And when that's set, what Adrian and Megan then have to do is to pour their walls using yet more fiendishly complicated mixes with unknown magical ingredients. There you go. Insulated concrete never tasted so good.
It's mid-January, and today, for the first time in the UK, the insulated concrete is about to be poured into the base of the walls. Except Adrian isn't here. He's had to go and earn some money at sea to pay for all this, and he's missing the great day.
Right, kids, Raph, you listening? I've got to go to site, but Nan and Grandad are going to come here, OK?
All this means Megan is in charge, although before she even gets to site, she has a long list of chores to do.
No, you're not having any more refreshers. Go and ask Nanny to put the cream on that's on the mantelpiece. You're going to play with your Lego? Nice.
All this juggling home life and the project while fielding text messages from Adrian, 180 metres underwater, somewhere in the North Sea.
Just checking on situation re-insulation and cut to falls. Have you got the... Ah, here he is. Hello. Hello. Right, I really do have to go to site now.
I do really wish Adrian was here.
What? This is the start of the walls going up.
Although formulated in Switzerland, the insulated concrete for the base of the walls has been mixed at a plant a few miles away, and it's about to be pumped into the shallow timber moulds known as formwork. Except at the moment, it isn't.
They're saying it's stuck in the pump, the concrete. I'm sure it'll be resolved.
It's blocked on the boom of the pump. We're not too sure why. It's got to be mixed right.
The insulated concrete's the wrong consistency, and it's refusing to pump.
We need to put a plan B into operation.
OK, I'll get some more wheelbarrows here, and we'll all have to jump in.
The concrete may be cutting edge, but it takes an old-school approach to shift it.
Concrete is a very fickle beast, and what might work one day might not necessarily work the next, so perhaps we need to just tweak things a little bit.
It's a lot of wheelbarrow, isn't it?
Because it's so experimental, this concrete, it is stressful because you don't know how things are going to go.
There is such a lot at stake here, and Adrian's itching to know what's going on.
OK. OK, I will do, yeah. It's very, very difficult to try to, communicate stuff that's going on site. And generally, it's issues and problems. It's never kind of, oh yeah, everything was great today. There's always something, this has gone wrong, or this is not gone wrong, but, an issue.
Around 30 barrow loads later, the first batch of insulated concrete is successfully in place. Just about. Two weeks later, the insulated concrete that sits at the bottom of the walls has set, and Adrian's finally back on terra firma.
And how are you both?
All right, better that he's back.
It's been stressful. It's really hard to really have taken on board just how much risk we're taking on using these products. It is new stuff. and you are a guinea pig, and things will go wrong. We're discovering this, and unfortunately, when it's £500 a pump and 6 blokes on site, it's a bit of a like, oh Christ.
What a pain.
The team on site have already started building the shuttering panels into which the concrete for the upper walls will be poured.
It looks as though they're about to finish constructing a motorway bridge.
Yep.
Doesn't look like a domestic building at all.
There's no doubt it's an unconventional system for house building. But in theory, it's a lot simpler than traditional construction.
So the formwork, which of course is going to be removed, you know, that has on this side this beautiful smooth surface, which is going to be reflected in the cast surface of the wall inside the room, and that internal skin of the wall is going to sit on these reinforcing belts, going to connect here to this insulated concrete, entombed inside this concrete wall. Sit these great slabs of polystyrene insulation. And on the outside of that, of course, is then cast another thin layer of concrete here, and that's the weatherproofing layer. It's the external layer of the building. The joy about this system is that these plugs here, which are here to stop the concrete from oozing out through the holes, they are replaced in the finished building by beautifully cast little miniature replacement concrete plugs.
The system's made from plastic that can be reused time and time again. It even comes with an app to help you put it together properly and plan the design.
What's this do?
So, you got your plan drawing there.
Yeah. Oh my lord! What sorcery is this?
You can have a look at various external formwork, internal, the access, all of it.
It shows you where you're pouring the concrete.
Yep, and you've got links, so you do a kit list for that pour, so you've got all your materials that you need just for that pour.
That is neat. That's safe. That's clever.
There is a catch, though. Only 2 homes have been built with it, and they're in Canada. So the instructor, Terry, is giving Adrian's form workers a lesson in how to use it.
Our business is usually high-rise buildings, bridges, that sort of thing. But yeah, I like the fact someone's building a concrete house. It's all right, Don, I got it. So basically, it connects with these couplers. Just click it and pull it together. That's traditionally you'd be bolting things together or nailing things together. It gets away from all of that, and you can see how quickly it's gone.
The formwork hasn't been used to build a house anywhere in Europe. Equally novel is the rebar-free fibre-reinforced concrete that Adrian's pouring into all the walls. It was developed in the lab in Switzerland, but it's being mixed 20 miles away in Crawley, overseen by the firm's national technical manager, Richard Kershaw.
So those are glass fibres that are going into Adrian's mix?
Yep.
Right.
And then at the back here we have different dimensions of steel fibres. So those are hook end, so they will help the bond. So you've got a blend of 2 different dimensions of glass fibres and 2 different dimensions of steel fibres to give the performance that the wall, the slab and the roof slab requires.
How long did it take to figure out that you needed both 30mm and 50mm fibres?
50mm and 12mm glass fibres?
Yeah.
About 12 months. I guess if it was easy, everybody would be building concrete houses using high-performance steel fibre concrete, wouldn't they?
I don't think everybody's prepared to spend 12 months figuring out a mix.
No, no.
After 2 weeks spent prepping the formwork, the first walls are ready to be poured. It's the moment of truth. A test not just for the concrete that's never been used to make walls anywhere in the world, but the plastic shuttering system that it's being poured into.
This is kind of the nitty-gritty of the project, as it were. This is the exciting bit. Today, hopefully, we're going to be able to pump it and see how it goes, really. That's all we can do. Spin the wheel of fortune.
They start with the metre-high walls. The concrete pumps perfectly, and the formwork's holding firm. Next, they move on to the 3-metre-high wall section.
Yes, I am nervous.
It's the most testing because of the sheer weight of the liquid concrete.
This is, yeah, this is important. Did that bottom railing pop?
The formwork has burst open and wet concrete is oozing out. A single bolt out of hundreds was missed.
Fuck. Basically, the form workers haven't put a bolt in where there should have been a bolt to support that panel, which is a bloody inconvenience is what it is.
Once it's set, the entire section will have to be knocked down and rebuilt. But these are the trials you face when you turn your home into one giant experiment.
Look, it's an oversight, it happens. But it won't happen again, that's for sure. Just when it was all going so well.
It's spring in East Sussex, and so far over 100 lorry loads of concrete have been poured into Adrian and Megan's house, thankfully with no more blowouts.
There's so many elements that come in together, and if one thing goes wrong, then the whole day and all the money involved in it is a complete write-off. The last few pours have been going really well, but you always just remember those ones that didn't go well. Things weren't able to pour, or things broke, and so it's always that anxiety that something might go wrong.
A conventional house usually gets plastered and painted, but here you never know what your finished wall's going to look like until you remove the formwork panels covering it, one by one.
Where was the problem?
In this wall.
One of yesterday's concrete deliveries was delayed because of a tyre puncture.
And we had some issues yesterday, so this is a little more nerve-wracking than normal, I think.
Okay, let's see what this one holds. Watch, watch, watch.
Oh, cock, it's there.
There you go.
So this is called because there was a delay in the concrete coming. Yesterday when we were pouring, we poured we poured up to here, and then I think it was a couple of hours or something before the next batch came, which basically means this starts going off, so you get a mark where the two different batches come in.
What can we do? It is what it is. It's done now.
We were just let down really badly on the logistics of lorries, which is really disappointing, to be honest with you. I'm trying to be very optimistic because I can't look at the dark side that much more because it's getting a bit depressing.
It's 7 months since they started pouring concrete. No wonder Adrian's struggling to see the bigger picture. But you can at least now get a feeling of what it's going to be like inside.
Oh, there's promise of great things here. Oh, look, so some of these you've plugged already, these holes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And others still empty. Now that, for example, that little ring there, right?
Yep.
Is that the kind of thing you're going to leave?
Yep.
You're going to leave these marks?
Everything,
And the
yep.
joints too, yeah?
Yep.
And so the marks that appear here, these scratches, that's in the panel, that's in the formwork. Now then look, this, right? That could take the skin off the back of your hand. Do you then sand that lightly? The actual concrete itself? What's your...
I probably won't touch it.
Will you not?
I'm going to leave it. That's what we want it to look like. We don't want it to be perfect.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do actually.
But at the same time, there will be bits that still offend you. What happens behind you there?
It's a shame you picked up on that, you saw.
No, it's not a shame. It's a question.
We are either going to skim it up with concrete.
Aha, aha. That's the first time I've heard you use that phrase. Skim it up. There's no doubt, is there, that this is going to be a beautiful place. It's going to be sheer. It's going to have an aesthetic which is pure and uncompromised. An aesthetic, however, which is also going to be somewhat governed by the, how shall I say, the connotations of concrete. Because underneath the questions of aesthetics here lies a fundamental question, which is, could you live in a car park?
Of course, the next challenge is to construct the high-tech fibre-reinforced concrete roof, which Adrian expects will be a simple process.
The beauty of this system is we are able to convert it to doing a roof deck as well. So in effect, you take the same panel and you're turning it and flipping it onto its back and propping it, and then we pour the concrete deck on top. In terms of scheduling for the roofs, I would hope that we will be finished, all of it, within the next month.
But a month on, the roof's nowhere near finished because there are 5 devilishly complicated levels to contend with. And Adrian has to go back to work again to try to keep pace with the rising costs, leaving Megan in charge once more.
Have you overspent to get to this point now?
Yes, yes, we have overspent because it's taken longer. I mean, we had a pot that was like house build pot, and we've spent that, but we've also spent other, kind of savings. I'm not quite sure how much, because at the minute, quite frankly, I just don't really want to look, because there's no stopping now, so you kind of just have to keep going. We were hoping to be finished by now, and certainly we kind of re-evaluated that, should we say, and pushed it forward to September. So we are a couple of months out of where we wanted to be.
I'd say a couple of months out is a tad optimistic. But I do understand Megan's eagerness to get in.
I'm desperate just to be able to have a bit of normality back. There's always stuff to be done. It feels never ending. It feels like it's been such a long time. 18 months ago or something like that, I think we knocked the house down.
Moving in becomes one step closer, however, when at the start of August, the final roof slab is poured. Just as well, Adrian's back to celebrate. The concrete phase is finally complete, 10 months since their first pour.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for looking
Hey, we came, we saw, we concreted.
Cheers, thank you guys. Thank you very, very much for looking after me.
Your own house,
Two weeks later, the deeply recessed windows start to go in, 21 pieces in all. Let's hope they do their job and bring some light into the grey interior.
It feels quite a moment to see these going in.
You've got the concrete, you've got the wall finish. But it's the first glossy bit of the building to go in, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sets off the concrete.
Attention finally turns to the interior and how to introduce services like plumbing and electrics into a dwelling where the walls are finished and completely solid. The answer is through a lot of surface-mounted ducting, just like you would do in a factory or a car park.
With Adrian and Megan, they have this vision.
Yeah.
So it's enjoyable to try and help them achieve the vision that they have.
Yeah.
It's growing on me.
That promises well.
Yeah.
But just as it feels they're turning a critical corner, they run out of money. Adrian's forced back to work again, which piles yet more pressure on Megan.
We've had an absolute nightmare. We've got credit cards and God knows what up to our eyeballs, and we were pushed into this position where we couldn't do anything. He had to go and get some money. So he's gone and left me to it. I mean, it's literally been the worst week of my life. It's been awful. Can you tell us what needs to be up here, and then I can start getting the stuff for this roof shifted onto that roof? I've got to remember to do that insulation as well. Adrian's stressed. He is really stressed, but I don't care. It's all his fault.
There's a ton of work to do, and to my mind, it's still unclear whether this cutting-edge concrete project will deliver.
What with all that exposed concrete and those exposed galvanised surfaces, I dare say you and I are sharing the same question, which is, will it look like a nuclear bunker? Or will it look like a comfortable, gorgeous family home? Or will it look like a gorgeous, comfortable family home squeezed into a nuclear bunker?
It's autumn in East Sussex. And it's almost 2.5 years since I first met Adrian and Megan, who were preparing to build an experimental home entirely out of raw, exposed concrete, inspired by Adrian's childhood passion for skate parks in Scotland.
So, I've been having to manage my expectations on this project, you know? Adrian's had to go back to work to earn more money. They said they'd be in by now, but I don't think they are. I don't think the house is finished. So I'm going to have to use my imagination. And so are you.
Well, blimey, the front looks finished, if a tad unwelcoming.
No windows, no door, no doorbell even. Looks like a fortress, doesn't it? Electricity substation. I'm going to go around the back. Oh my giddy aunt.
The back could not be more different.
It's pretty epic.
Megan's clearly worked wonders since I was last here. The building's come on leaps and bounds.
There's even a swimming pool with water in it. And this is really radical, isn't it? I mean, look at it. It looks like a giant chunk of sedimentary rock that's been thrust out of the ground. You know, the layers, you see the layers of the concrete in it. And it's been cut back, but not polished, you know? It's very chunky. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Adrian.
Hello.
You're here.
I'm back. I made it.
You've been away for how many weeks?
5 weeks.
For people who like their brutalist concrete, this is on the brutal end of brutal. It's not the smoothest. It's not the most perfect.
I never wanted it to be like that. What I wanted it to look like was somebody to say, has that been there 50 years? Or is it new? It to look honest. Everything Mark is where we just try to create something. And it's ours. It's our rustic concrete box.
Yeah. I love that, rustic brutalism. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do, yeah. It has been really, really stressful.
If you want to test the metal of your marriage, do a self-build.
And what is the metal? Is it reinforcing bar or is it steel staples?
Fibre reinforced, running all the way through.
Yeah, high
yeah,
fibre.
with the spiky edges.
Yeah, with a few spiky edges in
A few pins on show.
Yeah. I'd like to see inside. Ooh. This is extreme.
The interior is as gritty and grey as the facade.
There's a mass and solidity and thickness to everything, to the lintels, to the piers, the walls, the depth of that skylight. Everything is chunky and here forever.
It gives it that thing that I wanted, which was to look like this is a building that has been worked over by weather, it's been worked over by generations. It might have been an old bunker that we've come in and done up.
Yep, it sure looks that way. In comparison, the industrial fittings and fixtures seem positively decorative and cosy.
There are splashes of colour in here, I see. It's very nice. This is stuff you've accumulated over the years.
This is very much accumulated, yeah, over many, many years. It was always very much in our thoughts to have our furniture, our stuff, because I think it is so kind of brutal and so harsh that you need like homely stuff.
There is a danger with something like this. It could become really austere, and
as soon as you get your things in any building, it becomes your home.
Thank goodness. The place does have their personality stamped all over it. Even the kitchen is built from upcycled cabinets.
These are what, from science labs or something, or what?
This is old science cabinets
from schools?
that came out of universities, yeah.
Oh, wow.
When we got them, they had their sticky labels with kind of Bunsen burners. And,
so what do you do? Do you clean them up a bit, or?
No, we'll leave them like this.
Of course you don't.
Don't clean anything up. The other thing that I like about it is that if you have got people over, they're down there, so they can't see the mess that's been made in the kitchen. But it's still to be within the same space, so you could talk to people, so it was still connected.
And that's another little area which is just not snug. This is sort of semi-private.
At last, some cushions and colour. gracing a slightly hidden space for contemplation by the window.
It's just another interesting little space that you can come into and sit.
It's good to see that the family portraits are also as brutalist as the building.
Well, that's how you look after you've done a self-build.
Yes.
No, you don't.
Just outside, on the north side, is the enclosed courtyard that screens the road off. It may look cold, but this concrete is super-insulated and, thanks to an air source heat pump, underfloor heated throughout.
Your bedroom, yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
Nice. Do you know, I'm not going to look too much that way. But actually, I'm going to instead concentrate on this view, which is what you'll wake up to, of course. The view of the oak tree, the distant hills, the sky, the fields, and your pond, which is actually... Well, look, I've just called it a pond.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like a swimming pool at all.
Municipal waterworks.
Well, it's great. No, don't you think that? I mean, it's sort of got a rather heroic quality to it, I think. It looks very, very nice. What I particularly like is the fact that you've got a chamfer at the top and the side, which means that sitting here, as I look up, I don't see an overhang. What I just see is sky through the top of the glazing, you know?
Yeah.
That is very, very neat. It gives you a huge view. It's a maximum contact with the world out there.
What with all the technical complications and delays, there's still a way to go here. The children's bedrooms are a tangle of ventilation pipes.
So how soon before you move in, properly live here as a family?
Next week. Hopefully.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Something like that.
This year?
Yes. It has to be this year because we've got no house. Our rental's up.
Even that might be a stretch. But mind you, my definition of finished is entirely different to Adrian and Megan's. Remember that section of concrete he was going to skim up?
You said, oh, we're just going to smooth it over, which has not been done. Well, it's half been done. In fact, it's been done quite badly.
I like that because that's quite organic, that line there. It's like a little surprise detail. No, it is. It is. It's great.
It's like finding a human hair in a salad. You know, you just...
Nevertheless, what Adrian and Megan have achieved here is exceptional. They're really happy with their rough, grainy, geological concrete aesthetic, one that clearly connects Adrian's childhood love of BMX parks. They've become pioneers of the material, using new high-tech mixes to deliver fantastic environmental and engineering performance. But at what cost? Their original budget was £300,000 to £400,000.
How much have you spent so far, do you reckon?
About 450.
But why? How do you explain it?
Simply, it took longer to build than we thought.
£450,000 seems to be remarkable given the experimental nature of the product, because no one has put all these together in one place before.
When things have been not going well, it definitely, the words, "this was your idea," have come out of my mouth a few times. As stressful as it was, and as much as I kind of hated it while it was happening, you know, when I look back, you do kind of think, well, yeah, I did do it, and I was in control of it, kind of.
It became a great shared project, and I think, stronger for it, surely? Stronger for it.
I started this probably overly cocky, thinking, I reckon I can do this. I won't fall into the pitfalls that others will fall into. And clearly I've walked into most of them. And there's been some really low points. There has been periods in the project where I thought, I think I might have broken her. I think I've pushed her just a bit too far. So I really, for me, it's a big thing to come here and see how pleased she is with the building, And that makes me really proud.
So I'll cut straight to the point. I really, really like this building. I think it's a great piece of architecture. It's a radical piece of engineering. And it's been built beautifully. You may disagree about that, but I don't care. Because this project could have been one man's relentless pursuit of one material to the point of perfection. And thank goodness it wasn't, because instead it was something shared. This is the house that Adrian and Megan built together. It's an experiment, a joint project, and it's full of all of the flaws and imperfections and idiosyncrasies, if you like, that all of us have. And this house expressly is of these people, yeah? It's built with a cold and unyielding material, sure. But in their hands, this house is as warm, generous, and welcoming as they are.
Long ago, I met a man who wanted to build one of the biggest houses I've ever seen.
It's going to be the largest cob building on the planet.
That sounds like a recipe for insanity.
And he wanted to build it out of mud.
It's impossible to build cob when it's hammering it down.
The walls just aren't dry. They can just start falling over.
It is really quite desperate at the moment.
So I'm back, good Lord, to see whether he finished the Herculean task that he set himself.